So as you can recall, I tried to make something useful out of a product that came off my own body, and I did wind up with something unusual, but I don't think you could necessarily call it useful. This is made of protein though, and it comes to mind that one of the best uses for animal proteins is to make glue. So I think what I'll do is try making some protein glues, and I'm going to start with a really simple protein glue, and I'm going to work my way up to a protein glue that I'm not really sure I can make. In other words, I'm going to start with a really easy, straightforward glue, and then I'm going to try making glue out of something that people wouldn't usually make glue out of. So the first glue I think I'm going to make is casein glue. Casein is the major protein in milk. Almost all protein glues are made by essentially just messing with the stuff, usually getting it hot and then doing something to change the pH. We don't really want fat in our glue if we can get it, because fat makes extracting the protein a little more difficult. So we'll use a non-fat milk here. Really all we're going to do is warm it up and then start messing with the pH. Actually, before we start, it's worthwhile to go ahead and see where we stand on this pH. Looks like we're really neutral, right around 7. This didn't take long. This stuff's at about 45 C, which is about 115 Fahrenheit. So let's think with the pH, see what happens. Immediately you can see we need Miss Muffet, because that didn't take long. All I had to do was introduce a little bit of vinegar, and we immediately started to see the denaturing of that protein. Kind of fun, actually. That did not take long at all, did it? So that protein is casein. Let's see what the pH is. What's fascinating is the pH isn't that different. Maybe 6. Not 7 anymore. Maybe 6. Let's drive it down a little lower, just for fun. The fun thing about casein is that it does this. It just clots. All right, one more pH test, and then we'll dink with it. I'd say it's a solid 6. Clearly, I don't think it reaches the level of not a 5, that's for sure. Okay.
So now that I have my washed clot of casein, I'm going to mess around with the pH by adding some baking soda water. I've checked this. The pH is around 8. So we'll put that in there and we'll mash it around a bit and see if we can't turn this stuff back into glue. You know, honestly, after an awful lot of messing around with this stuff and squeezing and bending and pulling, I just don't seem to be making a lot of headway. I might have to take matters into my own hand. And so after a little bit of stick mixer work, I think I now have glue.
You guys know by now this casein glue, it's essentially just good old-fashioned Elmer's, if you will. Actually, it's thickened up a little bit just by letting it sit for a few. I think it's about right. I think what I'll do is make a couple of other protein-based glues, and then we'll do a little bit of a glue off here. Now that we've made a casein-based glue, I want to turn to another animal protein. That protein is collagen. Collagen is the primary component of gelatin, and most collagen glues essentially just sort of super gelatins, and you can get them from skin and a couple other structures, which we will look at momentarily. I noticed that this helps keep my teeth and gums healthy, which is handy to know. This is just a big old chunk of rawhide. There's not a lot I can do with this in its present state, so I'll put it right there and let it soak for overnight, and then we will continue on with the evolution of the hide glue. So once we've soaked this stuff, in order to kind of turn it back into skin, then it's a reasonably straightforward operation to just cut it into pieces. So the reaction we're going to do here is what's called a hydrolysis reaction. Hydro, water, lysis, cut. So essentially what that means is to cut atomic bonds or in molecules using water. So this protein is called collagen. It's actually very easy to hydrolyze. There are multiple ways to hydrolyze a protein. Enzymes use hydrolysis. You can use acid to lyse bonds in proteins. You can use a base. With collagen, you don't really have to do that. All you really have to do is add water and heat. Collagen is pretty easy to hydrolyze using heat. And the final product is gelatin. And actually, hide glue is really just kind of a very thick gelatin. So this is 250 grams of hide. Let's add just enough water sort of to taste. Then we're going to let it get to a high simmer, maybe low boil, and cook for a while. So this stuff spent all night on the simmer, and I'm just going to go ahead and get most of the hide out of it here and then let it cook down a little bit, and then we'll pour it off and let it harden and see what we got. It doesn't smell tasty at all. It's not like stew. You can see this stuff's got a little bit of a syrupy consistency to it. So here's our mighty tasty end product. What I'm going to do is just pour this out on this sheet and leave it for the rest of the day to cool off and congeal. Unfortunately, it's not perfectly clear because I did have some problems with kind of little bits of rawhide splitting off, but we'll see what it looks like when it cools off. This is my hide glue after about, I don't know, 24 hours in the fridge, so it's congealed and dried out a little bit. And now what I need to do is essentially dice it and let it dry. Here's how my hide glue turned out after a couple of days in the vacuum chamber / dehydrator. Just something I saw online in order to make this stuff a little easier to mix if you're going to make glue out of it. Let's do a final recap on version 1 of protein-based glues. So here's my Casein glue. I guess it's not unexpected that it went rancid and smells like rotting milk. I'm going to give that a 1 out of 10 would not glue again. This was my most successful glue. This is my hide glue. I'm actually interested in doing a glue off because I think this one's going to be a superstar. It's very crystal and it looks a lot like what I've seen online. So I'm feeling pretty good about that. You probably noticed I pulled a little sleight of hand with that cut there. I actually had 4 protein-based glues ready to go. These are the other 2, but it's 10 minutes in and I'm trying to hit that magical 10-minute mark on my video length. So I'm going to cut it short here and I'll do these in another segment. Anyway, hope that you enjoyed that. These are nice and sticky. That was nice and sticky. It was fun making glue. I've got a couple other glues to do yet. So anyway, please feel free to like and subscribe if you want, or don't if you don't want. That's fine too. I'd appreciate it if you tell your friends. If you could, if you don't want to tell your friends, I'm not going to complain. Other than that, thank you very much for watching and have a great day.